The first ever UFC fight in New York City. However, according to Dana White, that might not be coming to fruition. Rousey will not fight at UFC 205 on November 12th in Madison Square Garden. Rousey hasn't fought since being knocked out by Holly Holm. That one was in November. Max, is this a bad look for Rousey?
It's not a good one. But the issue, the bad look for Rousey was when there was talk of an immediate rematch with Holly Holm. I mean, first there's an old expression in boxing, in the fight game, and this is part of the fight game, UFC, obviously, it's combat sports. If there's a knockout in the first fight, that same fighter is going to knock out the other fighter in the rematch only sooner. And the issue for Rousey, just in terms of getting back into fighting, like Mike Tyson once upon a time, like George Foreman once upon a time, Sonny Liston once upon a time. When you are the baddest on the planet, the one that everyone fears, you have the aura of invincibility, and that's stripped. Not only are other fighters now less scared of you, they're not intimidated by you, the intimidation doesn't beat them before the fight starts, but in terms of the fighter's own self-image, that changes, because they never lost professionally, and all of a sudden, they taste that. They know in a fundamental way that they didn't know before that they are beatable. If I were handling Ronda Rousey's career, and I've debated this with Dana White, because Dana wanted to see Ronda and a Holly Holm fight an immediate rematch, and I would advise against it at the time, because now obviously the title's changed hands a couple times. But I would have put Ronda Rousey in with the softest fighter I could find that I could sell the public, and I would try to do it right away, a couple months after the loss. 2-3 months later, I'd want her in against a real easy fighter. I would want her in a couple months after that, Stephen A., against a kickboxer who could give her the same look as Holly Holm, but not anyone as good as Holly Holm. And then after that second fight, I would evaluate whether she should even go right to a Holly Holm rematch. Not that she couldn't beat Holly Holm, but you have to restore the fighter's psyche. It's not just a matter that maybe she thought she was a movie star or wasn't properly prepared, just ran into the wrong woman on the wrong night or the wrong style, whatever it is. It's that you have to rebuild her belief in herself before you put her back in. And I think what's happened since then, I know she had the knee procedure, I know she has a swollen foot now, and she's not going to fight till she's ready, which is smart. But what I see happening from afar to Ronda Rousey is she is dealing with the fact that in her own estimation, her invincibility is gone. There are other ways to make money. It's a very tough sport, and it will be over a year until she's back in the ring. It's not a good look, but I don't even think it's about how it looks to everyone else. I think of how it's about how it feels to Ronda Rousey. Her confidence hasn't been restored. She hasn't fought since then. I believe this has been mishandled in Ronda Rousey's case.
It has been mishandled by Ronda Rousey. I don't know what part, if any, Dana White has played in that, or the UFC under their I imagine they would want her to get back in the ring as soon as she possibly could. Here's my issue with it. I'm a fan of Ronda Rousey. I like her bravado. You know, Josh Norman caliber bravado, et cetera, et cetera. I get all of that. And especially, and I'm okay with it from a woman's perspective, because women don't get recognized in the world of sports as much as the men do when they're great. If you're not Serena Williams, I don't know of any woman that has the level of recognition comparable to that of most men who are superstars on their level. But what we must understand about Ronda Rousey, and what must be said, as much respect as I have for her, as great of a champion as I thought she was, and I still view her as, because one loss to me doesn't mean that, you know, you suddenly stink or whatever. Have nothing but respect for her. The problem is that I don't know if it's the loss that's affecting her as much as the impact from the outside world about the loss. You know what this is tantamount to in a crazy, odd kind of way to me? Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods, yes, his skills dissipated thereafter, but when he had that incident involving the police, you know, when he got into the situation with his wife, and all of a sudden, all of those salacious details came out about his behavior, Tiger Woods, to me, his game had disintegrated from that point forward. I don't care about the numerous tournaments he won. He didn't win a major sense. Why? Because psychologically, here's what happened. I promoted myself and exploited the attention that I was getting based on this image and this facade that I had portrayed to the masses. And then all of a sudden, when the truth came out, I got exposed, and I can't deal with that. In Ronda Rousey's case, we're not talking about image. We're talking about fighting, true, because you lost in the octagon. But it's not that she lost. It's that the mystique that she had created for herself and exploited, monetarily and very, very exponentially, the bottom line is all of that came crashing down. And to me, that's what she's dealing with. Don't tell me that a loss is affecting Ronda Rousey and it's just a loss. If you train as much as she has trained and you are as gifted as she is, somewhere along the way in your life, you lost at some point. It's the image that you created, how the outside world, how you manipulated them looking at you, and how that loss has now changed all of that. That's the problem to me. It's not that she lost, because we all understand anybody could lose in the octagon. Anybody could lose. I mean, listen, McGregor has lost. Nate Diaz got 11 losses on his career. John Bones Jones has lost. You know, everybody, people lose all of that. Unless your main name is Floyd Money Mayweather, you've lost. But in the end, what it comes down to is that if you are fending off the imagery that you created and how that has been sabotaged or destroyed, that, to me, is what she is dealing with right now. That is her battle.
I have something that might change your opinion. Obviously, I cannot wait to see a fight at Madison Square Garden. They fought so hard, the UFC, to get that ban lifted, so now we'll finally see that. And I wanted to see Ronda come back on that iconic card, but I did just get a text from someone in the UFC, and she is targeting to come back December or January. So I don't know if that kind of changes your stance in a sense that if it's health, and she couldn't come for this particular card, but she will be back the following month. In December, they have 2 cards already planned for December 10th and 30th. She's not hiding out.
This is not a funny thing, and we in no way are trying to come across as somebody like when Ronda Rousey lost, I was hurt for her. Holly Holm seemed to be a really, really sweet and nice lady, but the bottom line is that you couldn't help but feel sorry for Ronda Rousey, especially when you saw her on Ellen DeGeneres' show talking about how she didn't even want to live. This is serious, serious stuff. But it doesn't come across, rather, as it being, Max, because she lost the fight. Well, it's because of everything surrounding it.
I think also the pressure for her to come back against not only a world-class fighter, but the woman at the time who had just beaten her. And even now, the idea, now she's been out of the ring for a year, out of the octagon for a year, is she supposed to come back against a cream puff? You know, which actually is the right idea. I mean, throughout the boxing history, that's usually how it works if you get knocked out. No, there's pressure on her to come back against a top-flight, world-class fighter. I think, without knowing it for sure, but in my experience, being around the fight game and seeing how fighters respond to losses, that added pressure to fight someone like that could have something to do with the extended absence. I want to say this, too, about Ronda Rousey, because you brought up women fighting. The fact that it occurred to me when she lost, that any human being or any fighter, anyone really, loses something and the world stops spinning on its axis, tells you how important she became, how significant she became, particularly a female fighter. For a female fighter to lose a fight and Earth stops spinning because everyone pays attention to that, to her must have felt like the lowest low. She talked about intrusive suicidal thoughts and all that kind of stuff, and I get it. But from another point of view, and I'm sure eventually, I hope eventually, she could look at it this way, she became so great at what she did and so important at what she did that a loss for her meant the whole world noticed, and that is such a rare thing for anyone to ever accomplish.
Of course, because she was also built up to the highest of highs and surpassed all the men in terms of draw and becoming the biggest name in the sport. But I am excited if she does return in December or January potentially, and of course can't wait to see the UFC. I hope to be at that fight, that one in MSG November 12th. Coming up next, Friday, we got a new movie, Hands of Stone, and these stars are joining us next. Look who it is, Usher, Edgar Ramirez. Oh, they're facing off. They're ready to go. Can they battle Max and Stephen A? All love. They're joining us at the desk. That's next. What's up, guys? Come on over.